Good evening. Thanks for joining me this Tuesday on 7Edition. I'm Shafika Razali and these are tonight's top stories. Malaysia sees significant increase in number of identity theft cases. Malaysia does not need high-speed rail for now, says Prime Minister. And inferno breaks out at two prominent buildings in Paris and Jerusalem. Good evening. We begin tonight's bulletin with this story. Identity theft cases in Malaysia has increased by 20% to 446 cases recorded last year compared to 371 cases in 2017. Cybersecurity Malaysia Chief Executive Officer Datuk Dr. Amiruddin Abdul Wahab said the increase was due to alleged thefts of data involving phone numbers. According to Dato Dr. Amiruddin, another major factor which contributed to the increase of identity theft cases was the use of simple and risky passwords that could be easily accessed or cracked by cyber criminals.
It's about protection of what we call CIA, confidentiality of information, integrity of information, and availability of information. And this is where the issue of not just about awareness, people side, people is also very crucial because it's a central, the weakest point. But we need to have a proper process of how we classify information, how.
He also said that most of the identity theft cases involved financial criminal activity, address fraud and medical identity. He also reminded the public not to share personal information in order to avoid becoming a victim of such crimes. Among the measures that could be taken to protect yourselves include changing to a stronger password at least every 3 months, not opening or clicking suspicious links, and conducting financial transactions through secure websites. He spoke to the media after a signing ceremony of a Memorandum of Understanding (MOU) between Cybersecurity Malaysia and Rum Credit Info (RCI) and the launch of the Stop Identity Theft campaign in Petaling Jaya, Selangor. Also present was RCI's Chief Executive Officer Don Lai. In Penang, the woman who was found dead in a rented room of a house on Jalan Pokok Machang yesterday was killed by her husband. After the murder, the man then hanged himself to death. Seberang Perai Utara Police Chief Assistant Commissioner Nurzaini Muhammad Noor said, based on the post-mortem report, the 27-year-old woman died after she was smothered with a soft material such as a towel or pillow. The body of a 31-year-old lorry driver husband was found hanging from a beam with a sari in the same room. ACP Nurzaini said no weapons were found at the scene except a pillow and a small towel which was found stuffed in the victim's mouth. Investigations also revealed that the couple used to have arguments, but they were not serious. Their bodies were discovered at about 9:15 a.m. ACP Nurzaini said police believed the woman could have been dead for between 24 and 36 hours before her body was found. The couple only rented the room for about a month after moving from Bidor, Perak. Now, police are investigating the case under the Penal Code. The 3-day public hearing of the Royal Commission of Inquiry (RCI's) probe on the human trafficking death camps in Wang Kelian begins tomorrow at the Home Ministry's Dewan Gemilang at Complex D in Putrajaya from 9:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. The Ministry, in a statement today, said the 7-member RCI is headed by former Chief Justice Tun Arifin Zakaria, while his deputy is former Inspector General of Police Tan Sri Nur Rian Mai. Earlier, Home Minister Tan Sri Muhyiddin Yassin had said the RCI investigation report, once completed, would be presented to the Yang di-Pertuan Agong. In May 2015, the country was shocked by the discovery of 139 graves and 28 abandoned human trafficking camps on top of Bukit Burma Hill in Wang Kelian, located at the Malaysia-Thailand border. The discovery, which involved victims from the ethnic Rohingya community from Myanmar and Bangladesh, also attracted the attention of the international community. The Kuala Lumpur High Court today fixed 15 days beginning November 18th for the trial on the alleged tampering of the One Malaysia Development Berhad 1MDB's final audit report involving former Prime Minister Datuk Sri Najib Tun Razak and 1MDB former CEO Arukanda Kandasamy. Earlier, the duo claimed trial after the charge was read out separately to them. Judge Muhammad Zaini Mazlan fixed the trial from November 18th to 29th, 2019 and January 13th to 17th, 2020. The court also set August 29th for case management. The prosecution is expected to call up between 25 to 30 witnesses. On December 12, 2018, Datuk Sri Najib was charged with using his position to order amendments to the 1MDB final audit report before it was tabled to the Public Accounts Committee PAC to avoid any action against him. Arukanda was charged with abetting Datuk Sri Najib in making amendments to the report to protect the Pekan MP from being subjected to disciplinary, civil or criminal action in connection with 1MDB. Both face a jail term of up to 20 years and fine of not less than 5 times the amount of the gratification or 10,000 ringgit, whichever is higher if found guilty. On to the trial of Datuk Sri Muhammad Najib at the Kuala Lumpur High Court, which entered its third day today. Bank Negara Malaysia BNM manager told the court that 2 teams from the central bank had raided an AmBank branch in Jalan Raja Chulan to seize documents on investment obligations. The second prosecution witness said this when cross-examined by lawyer Harvinderjit Singh, representing the former Prime Minister. Azizul Adzani Abdul Ghaffar said he and his team carried out a raid from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. on July 16, 2015, and he was there until 9 p.m. waiting for another team to raid the bank. He, however, was not sure whether there were any other teams besides the 2 teams who raided the building on the same day. Later in the day, the third witness is the trial disclosed that an inspection was made at Affin Bank's Jalan Raja Chulan branch in Kuala Lumpur on 3 accounts of Ihsan Perdana Sendirian Berhad on July 6, 2015. BNM's analyst from the Financial Intelligence and Enforcement Department, Muhammad Nizam Yahya, said on the same date, several representatives from One Malaysia Development Berhad 1MDB's special team also went to BNM to make copies of the original documents. The hearing continues before Judge Muhammad Nazlan Muhammad Ghazali tomorrow. Now, a disabled man was sentenced to 3 years in prison by the Ipoh Sessions Court for breaking into a home in Parit Perak on March 24th. 33-year-old Khairul Amri Ulul Azmi, who lost his right foot during an accident in 2017, pleaded guilty after the charge was read to him before Judge Azman Abu Hassan. The accused were charged with 1 count of breaking and entering with the intent to steal 520 ringgit in cash and a piggy bank containing coins. He was also charged with stealing a Casio watch, 3 gold necklaces, 3 gold rings and a mobile phone worth about 10,000 ringgit in total. The oil palm plantation worker allegedly entered the home in Kampung Teluk Manis, Layang-Layang Kiri via an unlocked door before rummaging the house and making off with his loot. The court ordered his jail term to commence from the date of his arrest on April 2nd. Now, the Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission, MACC, has arrested 31 individuals, including 23 Road Transport Department JPJ enforcement officers for alleged corruption involving overloaded lorries around Penang. They were believed to have received between 10,000 ringgit and 32,000 ringgit in monthly bribes for giving tip-off on JPJ operations to the lorry drivers, as well as an inducement not to take action against them. The 28 men and 3 women aged between the ages of 31 and 52 were detained at the Penang MACC headquarters between 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. today. The JPJ officers, with grades ranging from 19 to 23, are based at the department's state headquarters in Seberang Jaya. It was understood that the bribe money was also spent on entertainment for JPJ senior officers. The arrest is part of the initial stage of an investigation into the matter, where at least 75 JPJ officers are believed to have received bribes from the lorry companies. All those detained are expected to be brought to the Georgetown Magistrates Court tomorrow to obtain the remand order against them. Elsewhere, a senior official of University Technology Malaysia (UTM) was among 3 people remanded for 5 days from today to facilitate probe into abetting a false claim. The remand order was issued by Johor Bahru Sessions Court Assistant Registrar Faridatul Farah Muhammad Shukri. Besides the UTM senior official, a lecturer of a community college and a director of a private company were also among those being held over the case, which is being probed by the MACC Act. Initial investigation revealed that a false claim was submitted to UTM for expenses of the Graduates Marketability Fund program, totaling 689,000 ringgit, but the program was never implemented. The trio, aged between 20 and 50, were detained at the Johor MACC office at 2:30 p.m. yesterday. Malaysia does not need high-speed rail (HSR) at this time, especially when it only connects Kuala Lumpur and Singapore. Instead, Prime Minister Tun Dr. Mahathir Mohamad said the focus should be on improving the quality of existing railway system to provide better services for the people. Some of the improvements that's been done included double tracking and electrification. The Premier stated that the speed rail project would only be beneficial if it involves far distances and saves journey time between 2 to 6 hours instead of about 30 minutes. However, Tun Dr. Mahathir did not rule out the possibility of the HSR project in the future, going through several other states, such as Johor and Penang, as well as to the border of Thailand. However, the decision on the addition of the route will only be made when it is time for Malaysia and Singapore to discuss about the project, which has been postponed until 2020.
For the time being, we are not going to build. We ask for 2 years before we begin to talk again about the HSR. At the moment, we have not given out any contract, but we have to compensate Singapore a little.
The Prime Minister spoke to the media after launching the Technomart Rail 2019 showcase in Cyberjaya today. On September 5, 2018, Singapore agreed to suspend the construction of the project until the end of May 2020. As a result of Malaysia's request for the deferment, it agreed to pay an abortive cost of 45.6 million ringgit to Singapore by January 31st of this year.
Are joined to depict connectivity.
After the breather, a man destroys his luxurious condo. But why? Details next. Welcome back. A team from SMK King George V in Seremban Negeri Sembilan emerged first runner-up in the Land Rover 4x4 in Schools World Final 2019 held in Coventry, the United Kingdom. Team Vincera, which comprised 5 students, represented Malaysia in the sport competition after securing the top spot at the national level in September last year. Held in Warwick University, the event also saw Team Vincera bag the Best Sponsorship and Marketing Award. Team Newgen Motors from Greece was crowned winner of the competition, while Extreme K from Portugal won the 3rd place. The competition required each team to build a radio-controlled 4-wheel drive vehicle to the specifications provided by the International Rules Committee. It must emulate the capabilities of a full-size 4x4 vehicle and successfully navigate and complete obstacles on an off-road test track. A total of 22 teams representing 15 states, including the United States of America, Cyprus, Slovakia, and hosting country, the UK. Besides trophies, winners also walked away with scholarships to study in the field of engineering at Harper Adams University in England. The Malaysian Institute of Economic Research (MIER) has forecast the country's gross domestic product (GDP) to see a moderate growth of 4.5% this year, compared with 4.7% in 2018. Its Executive Director, Professor Dr. Zakaria Abdul Rashid, said this is due to the slowdown in the global as well as domestic demand. According to Professor Zakaria, the International Monetary Fund (IMF) projected the world's economy to grow at 3.3% in 2019, in contrast to 3.6% last year. He noted that mounting trade tensions together with other emerging concerns, such as slower than expected growth in emerging economies, were causing instability in the financial market. He added weaker economic growth in China due to the trade tensions with the US had contiguous effects on many world economies, including Malaysia. Professor Zakaria pointed out the country's net export was expected to further contract to 3.4% from a contraction of 1.4% in 2018. And with the backdrop of slower global growth, the Malaysian economy would have to heavily rely on domestic demand to steer growth. Commenting on the outlook for commodities, he said the global outlook is mixed for the year. He said demand for agriculture commodities, particularly crude palm oil (CPO), is expected to improve due to an increase in volume coupled with better prices. The price of CPO is expected to touch 2,700 ringgit a tonne this year, compared with last year's average price of 2,232 ringgit a tonne. Meanwhile, Professor Zakaria said demand for petroleum products is bleak amid slower global growth. The rise in crude oil prices after bottoming out at the end of last year was mostly due to supply disruptions despite weak demand. The short-run price is expected to touch mid-$70 per barrel in the first half of this year before falling back into the upper $60 per barrel in the second half of 2019. Now let's hop on to our daily segment Clickbait, where we take a look at what's trending and making rounds in the cyber world today. Malaysian man recently went viral after filming himself thrashing a brand new condominium, which he had allegedly purchased at Jalan Ampang, Kuala Lumpur. This was allegedly because it wasn't as luxurious as the developer had promised. The 8-minute-long video, which was uploaded in a Facebook group named Singapore Incidents a few days ago, has gone viral with over 54,000 views so far. Here's the story.
I don't need you to pay me. I don't like it. This type of marble, this will be your new showroom. You know, this type of marble you give me. You give me this type of marble. I'm going to smash up the whole house, okay?
In the clip, the unnamed man was seen complaining to several people believed to be employees of the developer about the 2 million ringgit condo, which he claimed was not up to his standards due to the low quality of the furniture, defects on the marble floor, as well as other issues. He then proceeded to spray paint everything he disliked about the unit before smashing the furniture and destroying the floor with a sledgehammer. While talking to the camera, the man claimed to have called the developer Tropicana Corporation Berhad to express his displeasure about the condo, but they ignored him.
I mark it for you. Crack, cheap. I mark it for you. Otherwise, video very bigger. Almost every piece, crack. You give 2,000 over ringgit. This type, you close up. I mark already. You can see.
Other problems he pointed out about the condo included the sliding doors, which had tiny holes that require you to put your finger into them to pull the doors out of the walls, cheap furnishings and more. During his rant, the man also promised to make it his life mission to destroy the company's reputation for selling him a cheapskate unit. Not long after the video was uploaded, Tropicana Corporation Berhad issued a statement saying they were aware of the videos being circulated regarding its service residences and were mortified and affected by the untoward incident. The developer also apologized to those affected by the incident and was still attempting to connect with the owner to assist in rectifying the issue in any possible way. Foreign news now. The Paris prosecutor's office tells CNN that investigators have started to hear testimonies from construction workers on the site. This following a massive fire that has engulfed the medieval Cathedral of Notre Dame in Paris, one of France's most iconic monument. Parts of the 850-year-old cathedral had been under renovation, but it is still unclear whether the upgrade work has a connection to the blaze. President Emmanuel Macron called it a terrible tragedy and has vowed the emblematic church will be rebuilt after its spire and roof collapsed.
Cette cathédrale, il y a plus de 800 ans, nous avons su l'édifier. Et à travers les siècles, la faire grandir et l'améliorer. Alors je vous le dis très solennellement ce soir, cette cathédrale, nous la rebâtirons. Tous ensemble. Et c'est sans doute une part du destin français. Et le projet que nous aurons pour les années à venir. Mais je m'y engage. Dès demain, une souscription nationale sera lancée.
The privately run French Heritage Foundation has already launched a call for donations to help restore a symbol of French history and culture. French billionaire Bernard Arnault announced on Tuesday that he and the LVMH luxury conglomerate he controls would donate $226 million for the efforts. According to authorities, 400 firefighters were on the ground battling for almost 15 hours to extinguish the devastating blaze. No casualties were reported except for one firefighter who was injured as he was responding to the monstrous inferno. The fire broke out just before 7 p.m. local time, minutes after the cathedral, which has been undergoing extensive renovation work, closed to the public. With its twin towers, stained glass windows, gargoyles and flying buttresses, Notre Dame de Paris is one of the most finest examples of French Gothic architecture. Sitting on a small island in the Seine, 12 million people visited the cathedral in 2017 alone, making it the most popular tourist attraction in all of Paris. Now, meanwhile, in Jerusalem, a small fire broke out at the flashpoint of Al-Aqsa Mosque compound on Monday, but was extinguished immediately after. This happened around the same time as the inferno that ravaged Paris's Notre Dame Cathedral. Footage posted on social media showed smoke rising from the top of the Marwani prayer room, also known as Solomon's Stables. According to authorities, fortunately, the blaze did not cause any significant damage to the mosque. However, it did endanger a part of the worship site that is over 2,000 years old. The Waqf religious organization, which oversees the site, said the blaze was believed to be caused by youths playing with fire without providing further details. The Jerusalem compound is holy to both Muslims and Jews, who refer to it as Temple Mount. It is considered the third holiest site in Islam and the holiest in Judaism. Now, China has seized over 2,700 elephant tusks in what customs authorities are calling it the country's biggest smuggling case in years. The seizure was made by the Huangpu branch of China Customs in Guangdong province on March 30th, reportedly shipped from African countries and labeled as wood. In the operation, 20 suspects have been detained from cities around the country, including Hefei, Nanjing, Beijing, Fuzhou and Qingdao. The discovery occurred at a disused factory where 62 wooden boxes and a number of plastic bags were filled to the brim with ivory tusks of various lengths. This comes just 5 days after Vietnam reported the seizure of 9.12 tons of ivory in the Tien Sa port in Da Nang. So she described the case as involving an organized international criminal gang specializing in ivory smuggling. Both seizures, if officially confirmed, are larger than the 7.12 tons of ivory seized in Singapore in 2002, currently the biggest on record. Global car makers flocked to the Shanghai Auto Show this week, with the world's largest vehicle market facing an unfamiliar sales slump, just as China veers towards an ultra-competitive electric future. We leave you with visuals of the tremendous revving machines as we wrap up 7Edition this time around. I'm Shafika Razali. Thanks for watching and good night.